What's up, folks? Today we're going to talk about the Ecto Goggles Light and Sound Kit. We'll talk about the design of it, we'll talk about the installation of it, and everything else you need to know before you purchase yours. Let's get started. Okay, well, the wait is over. After about a year of working on this thing, I think it's in pretty good shape now. I have been getting emails on a weekly basis from all over the world asking when this thing was going to be done. I'll admit I could probably tinker around with it for the next year or so, and it's never going to be, as good as I want it to be. But I'll say the electronics for it have been done for months and months now. The real difficult part was getting all of the 3D printed inserts really designed well to fit into the various goggles that I'm producing this for. And you can see right here, this is the GB fans. And this is the 3D printed version of the Goons design from Thingiverse. And then I'm also working on one for the Spirit goggles. Spirit goggles are actually much smaller than these. So the board has to be a lot more condensed. There's also not many places for batteries to fit in that. So I'm taking my time with that one a little bit because I want to get that one right because I know the Spirit goggles are pretty affordable. So I think that could be a version that people are interested in buying. Before I go too much further, I want to send a shout out to C&A Props. Those guys approached me about doing this, and when I first started going down the road of thinking about doing this project, I really didn't think that it was going to be that it was going to look as close to the movie as I ended up getting it. I didn't even really think there was going to be a screen small enough to fit inside these goggles. I talked back and forth with those guys and told them kind of what I had in mind. But they had approached me, just saying, hey, do you think this is possible? And I honestly didn't think it was at first. But the more I kind of went down the rabbit hole of looking at various microprocessors with screens and soundboards and things, I started to realize, yeah, this actually may be possible. So thanks, guys at C&A Props for even approaching me about this. I think it's going to be a fun prop for people, fun kit for people to install, and it looks good. Everyone that I've shown it to has been really surprised. This is one of those electronic kits that I've seen people doing. Electronic kits or electronic installs for goggles, and most of the time it's kind of just like the green LEDs and the lenses and maybe an external beacon LED, but on the inside you're really missing kind of the bar graph and all those animations that you see in the movie. Those are always missing. Sometimes people kind of simulate those with LEDs. It's really not the same. It really doesn't look the same. And I don't want to do anything unless I can make it as close to sounding like the movie and looking like the movie. Externally from the goggles, I don't really care if they're accurate or not, if they don't look accurate or anything, but the visuals and the sound, I really try hard to get those spot on. So when I first started designing this, and I've got kind of an example right here, originally this was going to be kind of circuit boards that were kind of soldered to each other and attached like this. You can see this is all of these wires would probably break at some point when someone's installing it, and you're dealing with 4 different circuit boards that just having these wires connected between circuit boards, this is going to put some strain on them. So I decided after I kind of actually the electronics were done in the very first phase of this. Everything was working exactly like I wanted it to work. And if you go back, I think I've got videos of that particular design working, and the sound worked. Everything was done, and that was probably back earlier this year. But then I realized that's probably not going to work. That's if people want to be able to install this themselves, that's a lot of soldering that should not be necessary. And also, all of those wires will eventually break because of the strain. So then I decided to make one big circuit board for everything to fit onto. And ideally, that is much easier. But then I also had a problem with those circuit boards have to fit inside either the GB fans or the 3D printed version or the Spirit version. They have to fit inside that really well. And I also needed them to fit inside these 3D printed inserts like this. I needed the circuit board with everything on it to be able to fit inside those these 3D printed inserts. And so what I ended up doing is this is the kind of the finalized version. I think there may be like 1 or 2 more little tweaks that I want, but this is for the GB fans. This is version 4. And so what I had to do was I had to kind of iterate through all of these circuit boards, each one, do a full installation, and I think actually every single installation that I did worked perfectly. I never had a problem with doing the installation and something not working. Everything worked every single time. The problem was, would it work and fit inside this? And I ended up doing things like cutting out pieces of paper, putting it inside the models, trimming it here and there, then scanning it, putting into my SVG program, putting that into a 3D design program, and then literally just kind of like chipping away at different parts of the insert, printing that, fitting the 3D printed, or fitting the circuit board inside the 3D printed part, and then putting it in there. And there were times where like there was a bolt inside of it that didn't allow for this to fit inside, or these side knobs. There's these gigantic screws that kind of jut inside of it, and this is why it's kind of inset right there on this side. On the bottom, there's the what looks like a simulated kind of battery compartment on the GB fans. This part right here that's etched out on the bottom, that's specifically so that it can fit over those bolts right there. So just all kinds of really, really small issues here and there. And I kept just having to kind of slightly change the circuit board, then slightly change the 3D printed model, do it all over again, see if I could get it to fit inside of it. And the other thing is that it can't, the inside of it can't, really protrude this way too far, because then it'll hit your face or it'll hit your nose when you put it on. So, the iteration process, it made me respect toy companies a lot more, because basically that's what I'm doing. I'm making these like kind of cool electronic things that more or less make it into kind of an interactive toy. So I really started to appreciate their process for iterating through all their designs. So let's see. Like I said, this is the GB fans. This is the Goon model. And then I'll have a Spirit version later on. That one's, the electronics are closed, just working on the 3D printed insert, but I think these two will be more in demand immediately. So I'm going to go ahead and launch with just these two, and we'll do the Spirit version later. Let's see. The one of the first things that I needed to figure out is what screen can I use on the inside, and then how do I power this thing? Like, what batteries can I use to power this? And the thing is the batteries have to be small enough. They can't be large. They have to be thin. But also, the problem that I ran into is like, okay, I found several batteries that might work, but they were only really getting you like 20 minutes of power, and that's not, that's not enough. People are going to want to walk around conventions with these things. They're going to want to, sometimes wear them all day long, which I have done several events now for 4 to 6 hours, and I've had my goggles on the entire time. So that was a problem. What I decided was that maybe instead of just having one battery, I could have multiple batteries. And so that's when I found these small little batteries right there. You can see they're not very thick. And each one of these circuit boards, you'll see here, there's 3 connections for batteries right there. And then there's another connection for a battery right there. So you can do a total of 4 batteries with, I think, both of these. This is the GB fans. The one for the Goon, I'm pretty sure you can also do 4 batteries for that one as well. And those batteries fit inside the 3D printed insert. So really all 4 batteries are acting like one gigantic battery, because once you have it installed, you have a charging port right there. And what you do is this is the charging cable you'll get. Each set will come with this, but it just plugs into a USB port. This charges at 5 volts, and once you plug it in, what you will see is there will be a red light that lights up on this. When that goes off, it's fully charged. So it does really well. It charges well. And it lets you know when it's done. Now, on the actual screen, when you power this up, you'll see a thing at the very top. And excuse me for clearing my throat constantly. I'm getting over a cold. You'll see at the very top, it will test the voltage each time you turn it on. And if it sees that the voltage is too low, it actually does display a message that says you need to charge your goggles. And then when you turn it on, and if it's low power, you'll see a low battery icon show up. So the charging works really well, and that was one thing that I wanted to kind of figure out. How can I make this easy to charge? And originally, I had the charging port for it over here on the edge, and what I found out was that once the goggles are installed, you can see the padding around here. This came from eBay, this padding, but this actually snaps right into place on these goggles, which is great. The problem is that once you have this insert on, or the padding on, you can't get a cable over here into the corner. So I had done the entire thing and done the install, and once I did that, I was like, well, now I can't get a cable over there to actually charge it. So I ended up having to redesign it, and I have a charging port right in the middle, which is accessible. It's really easy to get to. The whole idea around this is that I wanted it to be something that people could just drop into their models and not have to do any kind of surgery on their goggles at all. I didn't want people to have to drill holes or do any kind of surgery on their goggles to be able to get this installed. Now, having said that, you can really install this any way you want to. You can, if you wanted to just buy the circuit board and you wanted to buy all the components individually, you can do all that stuff yourself. And then the LEDs, you can install those any way you want to. So for the LEDs, like when I install these, I am putting just these regular LEDs on there like that, and then I'm bending them up to just kind of shine through, and you can see it looks really great. It's shining through there. But what I also have is I've got other holes there that you can, and this was a prototype, but you can also install these kind of longer LEDs if you wanted to do something in the goggles eyepieces, if you wanted to have the LEDs further down, further into them, or ever how you wanted to do it. So I'm just giving you options there. Let's see. So for the circuit board, let's kind of just look at this real quick. This is where your microprocessor and screen go. They go right here. And then I've got this labeled soundboard. That's where your soundboard goes. And this is where your accelerometer goes. And then over here you've got the LEDs for red and green, and then you have your switch. Now originally I wasn't really sure where I wanted to put the switch. I had originally put it right here. The problem is that once that screen and the microprocessor are installed, you can't really reach over to the other side of it. So I ended up having to move the switch all the way over here. And it might not be in the most ideal place, but you can certainly reach it really easily over in the corner. So you turn it off. It's actually rebooting now. And you can see it booting up in there. That's kind of hard to, yeah, there we go. So you just can reach into the corner, flip it on, flip it off. Now the accelerometer, the way that an accelerometer works is that it wants to detect whether or not you're moving up or down. And I made this so that you can look down or you can look up to trigger the bar graph. I actually had someone ask, like, can we adjust the sensitivity of the accelerometer? Can we, alter the angle that it's detecting? I didn't want to go that far. I think the majority of people are not going to want to do any kind of alteration of any of the values or any of the actual programming. So I decided not to do any kind of interface or any kind of programming to allow for that to happen. Because for the most part, I think people are just going to want to put this right into their goggles and call it a day. They're not going to want to mess around with that much. Okay, so let's talk about the external connections. There's two external connections. One of them is the USB connection, and the other one is a beacon, external beacon LED, which you can see going off right here. So as I was working on this and had showed off several examples, someone actually said, is there any way we can connect a USB like battery pack if we wanted to power it kind of all day long? And I started thinking, that's not a bad idea. You could probably get a small battery pack to kind of clip onto the straps if you wanted to for your goggles. Or some cable to kind of like go into your shirt or whatever you want. So I started thinking, that's not a bad idea. So this is the GB fans. On this side over here, I have you have a battery connection. That's only for 5 volts. So that would be a Well, really, it's not 5 volts. It's really for 3.7, but I think it could probably take 5 volts. So that's if you wanted to connect a bigger battery like that, or a battery pack that's a 3.7 volt pack. Above that, you have a USB connection, and then above that, you have a beacon connection. So for the USB connection, these cables will, I don't think everyone's going to want these, and I have to make these by hand because it has to have that certain connection on the end. But they're not going to be very much. They're pretty cheap if you wanted to get one. I'm talking just like a couple bucks, maybe $4 or something. So what you would do if you wanted to connect this to a battery pack is you just plug this in to the USB side, and you need to be careful that you don't bend any of these connections. So that's connected, and on the let's see, on the GB fans insert, it has these holes right here, and you can run a cable through that if you want. Let's see. So then you'll this is a USB-C connection. You'll connect that to whatever cable you want, and then lastly connect it to whatever battery pack you want. And you can see that's turning on right now. I don't have a speaker plugged up to this, so it won't, you won't be able to hear it, but I'll let you see the boot up. Yeah. So so you can power this with USB external battery pack if you'd like. The other thing is, I'll go back to connecting a battery to this. The external beacons, now I don't think either one of these models, now the Goon 3D printed model, it actually has a hole that you can put an LED in. The problem is that it is not big enough for any LED to install that I've found with these kind of housing, the housing on it. You could probably put some kind of like cheaper LED in there without it kind of looking like it's kind of an industrial level LED. But I wanted it to look a little bit better than that. So I have two options that I'll be selling, and I like this one right here. This is kind of a flat, it's very flat on the top. The problem is that it has kind of a longer housing area for it. So if you install this into your goggles, you have to have enough room for that housing to kind of stick inside the goggles. The other one is kind of a shorter, a little bit cheaper. This is just an LED light that's in some metal housing. This is a little bit cheaper version, but I'll show you those two. So the electronics are on, and if you wanted to install this, you just plug it up and you see it's flashing right there. And it's kind of a fading in and out. Now this doesn't change, this is constant. This doesn't stop or anything. This just doesn't matter what is happening on the screen there. This is just a constant flash. So you see that how that looks. It's just kind of a flat LED. The other one also looks pretty good. As you can see there, it's also doing the same thing, just flashing on and off. It's really kind of a quick fade on and off. Is your preference which you want to install. Now, these don't come with the set. This doesn't come with the electronics because I have to make these individually. I don't think there's going to be a lot of people that are going to want to do that. I could be wrong, but as I said, if you want to install that in your GB fans, you're going to have to drill a hole somewhere in that. And I personally don't want to be responsible for someone cracking their insert or their shell. I don't want anyone to feel like they have to do it, so that's why I'm not including those. Same with the 3D printed one. If you want to install it, you're going to have to figure out where you want to install that on the goggles. And you'll have to do that yourself. Let's see here. So this is the insert for the GB fans. And I'll show you. I'm going to do this without the batteries for right now. This is the 3D printed insert for the GB fans. And this is really the battery holder. And the reason this is kind of so deep is because these holes, these larger holes in the corners, this fits inside. This is actually the aluminum part from inside the goggles. This fits right inside that. So you don't have to take this aluminum part out. You can install this directly over that. Now I do have, which I actually have installed right in there right now. I have a 3D printed part that allows you to take this out, which makes the electronics sit just a little bit further back into the goggles, which I liked. And I'll put that option up if someone wants to download it, but I'm not including that unless someone sends me an email or in your order puts a note that they would prefer the version of this to remove the aluminum plate. So you can see, once I put this over it, you can see how those holes line up for the screws. Now those, I have no idea why they didn't make this tapped. So you can't, the screws and the bolts that you use to on the front here, they actually protrude pretty far out into the view piece on the inside of the goggles. And I don't know why they didn't just tap these to make those screw directly into this. They have, once you have those bolts in, you have to put a nut on them, and it takes up a lot of room. And that was one of the problems that I had. I was thinking, well, man, like how am I supposed to have these electronics sit on top of those bolts? And the only way I could figure out to do that is to have kind of like a spacer. And you can see on the side there, this fits right into the place where these side knobs are, and they side knobs screw right into this. They screw in the aluminum, and then they screw into this, and that keeps it in place. So once that's in place, the bolts and the nuts right here will actually protrude through there, and then these your electronics board and your this is the insert cover. You see how that fits kind of, I mean, it snaps into place. It fits like a glove. So then that fits on top of this. And it's got these holes right there on either side of the eyepieces, and there's another one right there. These are kind of just to hold it in the right place. And what you would need to do is you would need to glue these kind of sandwiched together so that they stay in place. Now, before you do that, you're going to want to put all your batteries in here. This is where all of your batteries would fit. And you can put, you can probably put 4 batteries in there. I've put 4 batteries in there. Right now I've got 3 in there. But once you have all of those inserted, you're going to have to, one by one, connect them to these here. I've only got 3 batteries in there because there's only space for 3 of these connectors right there. So if you have a 4th battery, you can actually put a 4th battery. I think you can squeeze a 4th battery in there. You might not be able to, but you'll at least have 3 batteries. Now, let's see. So once you have all of this installed, then you need to do, you'll have to put this piece over the microprocessor, and I've got these 2 places right here that allows you to actually push those buttons. And then you have this overlay right here that goes on top of that, and this has the little door that allows you to access the charger. Now you don't have to use any of this. You could just have it like that if you want. You certainly would be able to reach those buttons a lot easier. And that was one of the things that I had problems with. Is I was thinking, should I allow people to like take this off if they want to, or I originally had this design so that magnets would fit on this so you could take it on and off. I don't really see a point in that because there's really no reason for people to take this on and off. But you should be able to access these buttons to press that if you need to. Now, again, I covered this in one of my other videos. The buttons there, let's see. Yeah, let me show you here. This button here, you can press that and it will adjust the lights. Actually, let me turn this on and I'll show you. I think I'm starting to lose my voice. All right, we'll give that a minute to power up. Okay, so this button, you press it once and it will turn these lights off. Press it again and it will turn them back on, and the default setting is for these to fade in and out. But there's also a setting where that just makes them solid. So now they're just solid instead of fading in and out. I put that in there because I thought, well, people might want to turn these lights off just to not burn the battery power, or because they're too bright if they have them on, because they are pretty bright. This button over here actually turns the screen off. If you wanted to turn it off to save battery power, you could do that. Just press it again to turn it back on. And then the other setting that I have is that if you hold this down for 10 seconds, it will mute the sound, and you can see a mute icon show up at the corner there. Just hold it down for 10 seconds again to undo that. And you can see the mute icon's gone. I think that's it. I think that's everything. The speaker will come with a connection on the end like that, and again, you'll just plug this in here. I'll fire this up so you can hear the. Oh, I need to connect the battery. So you can hear the speaker connected now. And those sounds are, I've mentioned this before, but those sounds are taken from the movie. I ended up having to do a lot of work to clean them up, because if you watch the movie, what you have is you have the goggle sound over the soundtrack and the actor speaking and other sound effects like the proton packs going off, things like that. So I ended up having to do some work to clean up the sound. What I did is I took a chunk of the sound from that scene in the ballroom, and I ran it through an AI processor that would allow all of the different sounds to kind of be split out into different tracks. And what I found was there was actually Slimer sounds in there that I had not heard before. You can hear him kind of moaning and groaning a little bit. But I didn't even know those were in there until I had it all separated. So I used that, cleaned up the tracks again, and I kept running it through an AI processor to both complete those sounds and to keep them separated. and it worked out really well. I think the sound that it produces is pretty clean. It does sound really similar to the movie. The one thing, if I had to pick one thing that I'm not real happy about with this, is the soundboard. I tried a couple of other soundboards, and either they didn't work the way that I wanted them to, or they simply required too many connections to the microprocessor that I didn't have, or it was going to be too much of a strain on the microprocessor to allow all of the animations to be smooth and constant. You have probably heard of the DF player. DF player is a really good soundboard, but it's also very thick and sticks up really high. So I decided not to go with the DF player. This is actually the thinnest soundboard that I've found. It's very, very thin. And really all I'm doing is the microprocessor is grounding the sound pins on this to create one or two or one of the other sounds, and that's it. So the accelerometer detects when it's at a certain angle, it sends a signal to the soundboard to turn on a certain sound, and then if it goes back, it turns that sound off and turns on a different one. The only thing that I'm not happy about is there's a very slight latency between turning those sounds on and off. So if you are listening to it, you'll notice just like it's probably like half a second that it takes to turn the sound on and turn the other one off. And I really wish that that was a little bit quicker, but I'll take that, because of the thinness of this and how well it works, as far as it has an amplifier and it sounds decent. So I'll take that. That's just gonna have to be something I'll live with. Maybe it'll get better eventually, but it's certainly not a code problem. It's more of a soundboard problem. I think that is everything that I can think of. There Now all of this is assembled by hand. So every time someone wants to order one of these, I'm assembling this entire thing by hand because there are components here. I have to put sounds on this, and then I have to configure the microprocessor and put all the images and everything onto that. Having the people that produce my PCBs, having them do all of that would cost more than I want to pay them, and I figured I want to keep this as cheap as possible so that people can afford it. And so I'm going to do that all myself. So I have to keep all these parts on hand, and I also have to solder them all in place. So each time someone places an order, I'm asking that you wait. Hopefully it will only take a week or so for me to get around to this. I have a job, I have 2 kids. So getting the time to kind of assemble all this stuff, test it, pack it, and all that stuff will take a little bit of time. I also have to have the time to print 3D printed inserts for whichever model you choose, make sure everything fits together the way it should, and then just, like I said, test all the electronics to make sure they work. So I'm hoping that you guys don't mind waiting 4 to 6 weeks for me to get, because once these go on sale, I'm going to end up having a lot of work, because I know the amount of people that have asked, when is this going on sale? So the demand is really, really high for this. It'll get better, but initially this is going to take me a while to kind of assemble all of these, get them all shipped out, and tested and everything before I ship them. Okay, so we're going to briefly look at all the parts that you get with the kit. So this would be the unassembled kit. There are 13 parts in all. First, you would get whichever control board of your choosing. This is the GB fans, but there's also the Goon, and then there'll be the Spirit one coming up soon. So you get this. You'll get the display with the microprocessor preloaded with code. You have the accelerometer, the soundboard,
You have two long stem or long lead green LEDs. These are 3 millimeter. Then you have two 5 millimeter LEDs. This is a red one and a green one. Those are the indicator LEDs. Um, and then you have nine uh, micro JST, or they're 1.25 millimeter right angle JSTs connectors. So that would be for all of these connections, like for the speaker, and then you have battery connectors right here. That's what those are used for. I'm sending you a couple of extra just in case you bend them or you need to replace it at some point. Then you get one straight uh, two pin, same size. This is a 1.25 millimeter straight pin connector, and that is specifically for the charging port right here. Um, then you have a 3 pin switch. This is a long stem switch. I think it's 6 millimeter. Goes right here, and that's just your on and off switch. You do have like an auxiliary on off right here. You can use that instead of this if you have like an external switch that you mount to the bottom of your goggles to like switch it on and off. You can use that as well. So either one of those will switch it on. Then you have a 90-degree USB-C PCB, and you're only going to use the ground and VCC on this. Uh, the ground and the power on that will connect to this USB port right here, or USB connector right here. It's labeled USB. And then you actually plug that into the bottom of this. And all that really is for is this USB connector right here. If you could see that. That is so that you can plug in this USB extension cable right here and plug this up to an external power source like a USB-C battery pack. And I think lastly here, you've got it will come with two batteries. Um, all of either assembled or unassembled, they will always come with two batteries. Now, if you want to have a third battery, you can certainly add a third battery. Um, I think the Goon model, that one has enough space on the back for you have three batteries here and you have another battery here, so you can actually use four batteries with that. The GB fans, the only place to put batteries on this is in this kind of channel right here that is mounted underneath the circuit board, and I think you can only really fit three in there. Um, so, if someone finds a good battery pack that can attach to your goggle straps, that's probably as far as running it all day, that's probably going to get you the most power. These two or three batteries, you're looking at probably an hour's worth of time. That's with the sound running and everything. So then, of course, you can get these assembled. The assembled ones, they're going to be hand assembled by myself, and they take a considerable amount of time. This is the Goon model, and this is the GB Fans model. You can see they're virtually the same as far as how they're assembled. Um, but this is what you'll get if you get them assembled. It will be assembled just like this, and it will be fitted into the 3D printed insert, and then you basically you would get this in the mail, and you would basically just be able to drop this right into your model. Now for the Goon model, you're on the hook for figuring out how you want to secure this in here. I would suggest just probably putting some glue around the edges to keep it in place, and then put your padding back on. For the GB fans, the assembled one will come inside your 3D printed insert, just like this. This fits pretty snug, just like that. Kind of snaps into place. Um, I will go ahead and have the batteries in here. These will likely have to be glued because they don't really sit in there straight unless they are glued. So then this will be glued with these 3 pins here to keep this all together. And the glue I use is just this clear grip Gorilla Glue or E6000 glue. So then once you get this assembled in your actual goggles, you can take the padding off. Let's see, I can probably just show this. Now I don't have the aluminum insert in mine. I kept that out, but this is made to fit inside of it with the aluminum insert and the bolts that kind of stick up. That's what these holes are for, just for the bolts to kind of go in there. And then it's secured with these side knobs. They just basically screw through the aluminum part and into the 3D printed part, and that secures that inside the shell. So it doesn't move around or anything, and it stays in place really nicely. Okay, so those are your two assembled options. So if you order this unassembled, I am not 3D printing the shell for the unassembled version of these. C&A Props will be doing the 3D printing for the inserts and the cover and this overlay. They will be doing that for me because I'm not a print shop. They have a lot more capabilities of printing. A lot quicker and a lot more efficiently. So I have a link on the website. If you order the unassembled version, then you will need to reach out to them on their Facebook page. Just chat them and say, hey, I need to get an insert. Tell them which model, and they'll work out shipping and everything for you.
So I think that's it. I think that's everything I wanted to cover. I hope everyone's excited about this. It looks great. It's a lot of fun. People have been really impressed when I've showed them in person. And I hope this is kind of a great addition to your goggles that you have. Like I mentioned before, I will have a Spirit version that will be out soon. I'm trying to get this out the door so that people can go ahead and start buying them and installing them. And then I'm going to be switching gears to finish the Ecto containment unit. I've gotten lots of emails about that recently as well. I know people are really interested in getting that installed as well. So that'll be my next focus. And I think that's it. Yeah, anyone has questions, anyone has anything specifically that they want to know about with the goggles, shoot me an email, chat me on Facebook. Other than that, I think that's it. So excited to get this on sale, and I hope everyone enjoys. I'll see you later. Thanks.